You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another Dragon Ball video. This is not my weekly Dragon Ball video that I've been doing lately. Instead, Corbin and I were having a little bit of a disagreement about two particular live-action anime adaptations, and we thought it'd be better to just bring it here onto the channel, so you guys can hear how wrong Corbin is and how right I am. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about that.
I disagree.
I know you disagree, but I disagree with you disagreeing, and therefore I'm right. But topic of today's video is which movie is worse? The Netflix 2017 Death Note movie or the 2009 movie Dragon Ball Evolution. Both of which are considered to be absolutely terrible movies, and both of which are horrible adaptations. Literally the only reason either of these movies exists is to be a cash cow to milk a franchise, because the studios wanted to hold on to that license for a little bit longer, because they were about to lose it, and if they make a movie, they get to hold on to it a little bit longer. Something like that. That's typically how the industry goes when they shit out these movies way late into having a license, is they're just trying to shit something out as fast as they can to try and make a profit while they still have the license. So we'll start, we're gonna try to have this as organized as we can. I'll go ahead and talk about how familiar I am with the two franchises that these movies are from. So first off, let me say Death Note was my introduction to anime. Like, I'd seen Dragon Ball and Naruto and stuff like that before, but Death Note was what got me into anime and made me actually much more into the medium as a whole. Death Note itself is my second favorite anime series, meaning standalone anime series. If you include franchises as a whole, it's my third favorite anime franchise. My first being Devilman, my second being Elfen Lied, and then Death Note. However, with just including standalone series, there's not a Devilman adaptation I feel lives up to the manga, which is why Elfen Lied is my favorite anime, not including the entire franchise as a whole. But anyway, I digress. With Death Note, I've seen the anime itself multiple times. I've seen it at least 4 times all the way through, if not like 6 or 7. I've seen the Death Note relights, which are OVA abridgments of the entire anime series again. I've seen all 4 Japanese Death Note movies. I've seen the 11-episode Japanese TV drama of Death Note. And I've read both Death Note novels, as well as all of the manga. With Dragon Ball, I have seen through all of Dragon Ball, all of Dragon Ball Z, all of Dragon Ball GT, and I've watched most of GT twice as of this point because I'm rewatching it. My introduction to Dragon Ball was the Piccolo saga growing up, and I personally prefer original Dragon Ball over Dragon Ball Z. But this movie is an adaptation of original Dragon Ball, and the Death Note movie is an adaptation of Death Note, obviously, since there's only the one series. But that's how familiar I am with the two. What about you, Corbin?
Gosh darn it, I hate you.
Why?
I saw all of Death Note, and I saw 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Z.
Alright, so all of Death Note and 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. Quite a story, quite a legacy with them. I'll also take this opportunity to undermine Corbin a little bit, to play dirty and be an asshole, by straight up saying that, when Corbin first saw the Death Note movie, he white knighted the shit out of it to me, telling me, it's a good movie, but it's not a good Death Note movie, and shit like that, and saying, oh, it's a good movie that seems like it was inspired by Death Note, and not an adaptation, and going on like shit like that. He did kind of like it less the second and third times he saw it, but, he did defend it initially, so that is worth mentioning. If you can't tell...
but the movie came out like 2 years ago.
But if you can't tell by that segue, my side is Dragon Ball Evolution is better than Death Note 2017. He thinks that Death Note 2017 is better, and today we're going to argue about why. Let's go ahead and start with the characters. I will start by talking about why I think Light is a worse character than Movie Goku, like Movie Light versus Movie Goku. Again, anime comparisons, Light's the best, but, you know, Death Note, Netflix Death Note, absolutely atrocious. Literally the first fight scene you see in the Netflix Death Note movie, they walk up to him and they're about to beat him up, and he's like, well, if you beat me up, I'm under 18, so that's technically child abuse. What a fucking pussy. Who the hell says that? Goku, like the first fight you see, he's holding back. He's too strong. He's not allowed to fight because Grandpa Gohan told him not to. But then eventually he gets them all to kick their own asses, and after Grandpa Gohan dies, he goes ahead and just starts whooping ass the rest of the movie. Okay, well, other than that, all of his problems in the 2017 Death Note movie are just generic teen problems.jpg. They're literally just, oh no, there's bullies. Oh no, the school system are assholes. Oh no, I don't get along with my daddy anymore. Oh no, this, that. Oh no, I'm a horny teenager who wants to get with this one girl because she's a cheerleader and I think she's hot. And it's like, no, just stop it. This is not relatable. Like, Dragon Ball Evolution had some of that high school bullshit in it, but, like, that was very minimum. There was, like, 2 scenes in the entire movie. A good chunk of Netflix Death Note is just generic high school drama.mp3.
Well, now I'm gonna argue my argument. That's arguing with your argument.
Yeah, of course. That's the purpose of a debate.
Goku's character in Dragon Ball Evolution, I think, is way more boring than Light. Light's is a bad character, but Goku was sort of just... I don't know, I thought Goku was generic other than the fact... I think he's a boring character. I don't like Goku in Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, I don't like either character, and I actually hate Light more, but Goku bored me more. And I'd rather watch something I hate than watch something that bores me.
See, I never got bored at all. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
But the thing about... I don't know, that's the way I always sort of saw everything is, if I'm watching something I hate, that's getting an emotion out of me. But if I'm watching something that bores me, that's not getting anything out of me. I'd rather watch something I hate.
See, I can agree with you on that. I think that... Oh, sorry, keep interrupting you. I apologize.
Actually, that's all my argument is.
Okay, well...
Light's a pretty bad character.
Anyway, so, yeah, I agree with you to an extent that if I find something boring, it's worse than something that I find genuinely bad, but I wasn't necessarily bored by Goku. If anything, I was bored by Light, because he's just another generic teenager that's not like he's generic and just like everyone else. I mean, yeah, the Goku character in the movie isn't particularly special either. He's just kind of a generic action movie character. But, like, I'd rather watch a generic action movie than a generic teen drama. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have a character that's kind of cool and fights and stuff, and than a character who's just a generic teen who's upset with life and hates his dad.
Well, I guess that's just sort of a contrast between our characters, because I think you're more of a... Would you say you're more of an action comedy person or more of a drama person?
I'd say drama, actually. It depends on the context. But I'd rather watch I would rather watch a bad action movie than a bad drama. I'd rather watch a good drama than a good action movie, but I'd rather watch a bad action movie than a bad drama because I don't have to take it as seriously. With the exception being The Room, because The Room is wonderful on all levels, but that's neither here nor there.
Are you saying The Room is a bad drama?
I would never say such things. It's not true. Don't even ask.
Well, why don't we talk about love interests?
Okay, sure. We'll go with the love interests. I think that Mia and Light's relationship is the most annoying piece of shit ever because they're just constantly clinging to each other and making out. Light literally shows her the Death Note just so that he can try and get some puss, and he succeeds. I mean, hey, if it works, it works, but then she's the one manipulating him, which is the exact opposite of as it was in the manga. Again, different doesn't equal bad, but this kind of different is bad. But she's running the relationship, she's just awful, manipulative, and he's just, controlled by his hormones and just not thinking with the head on top of his shoulders. Whereas with Goku and Chi-Chi, I actually like this romance better than their version in the anime, because they actually have a character arc, whereas in the anime of Dragon Ball, Goku meets Chi-Chi and she literally says, "You should marry me," and he says, "Okay," because he doesn't understand how marriage works, and then they get married. That's literally it. So this is way better than that. Like, even though this movie is nowhere near as good as the anime, the romance between Goku and Chi-Chi is better in this movie than it is in the Dragon Ball anime. And it's definitely a hell of a lot better than it is in the Death Note movie.
I'm gonna be doing a comparison, not based upon the animes they're based off of, but just based on the movies themselves. And I enjoy... Now, you gotta listen to me here. Listen to my argument a little bit.
Go on. I'm not
But
going to
I enjoy the relationship between Light and Mia more because I think it's more realistic to life. Because in Dragon Ball Evolution, I think that was sort of just a generic love thing where it's like, where like boy meets girl, boy likes girl, starts showing more and more signs that they go together, blah blah blah. But the reason I like it more in Death Note is because that's what relationship with women is really like. Women are manipulative a lot of the time. Women are really controlling, and you can tell the whole time that she's just using him because, like, she wants to be able to kill people, and she wants that power, and she likes to be in control, and she likes being in control over Light. It's sort of realistic reflection of how not masculine men are today, and how women are very manipulative over men today, and that such and such. So I think it's better. It's not obviously not a better relationship in the sense that, oh yeah, they go together, because the whole movie's telling you they don't go together. That's the whole point of their relationship, is that they're not compatible. And that's what I like about it, because that's what it's like in real life.
Well, I mean, I don't think they were intentionally going for a social commentary, but if they were, then I think that's actually kind of brilliant if that's the case, because you do raise a lot of good points with that. I just think it was a lot harder to watch because I didn't like either character, and I didn't think they belonged together, and it just was cringy as hell. On top of that, it's also a complete and total 180 of their reversal of their roles in the manga and anime, whereas Light was the manipulator who used Misa because he didn't care about her, but she was crazy about him, but he knew he could use her to his advantage. Because, again, Light's personality is, like, polar opposite that it is in this fucking movie. And here's the thing, even though I didn't like anime, I don't really care for Misa that much in the anime. My most recent playthrough of it, like, my most recent time watching it, I actually didn't mind Misa that much. I hated her the first time I saw it, and I've hated her most of the times I've seen it. But this last time watching it, I actually didn't mind her that much. I actually kind of felt bad for her. Granted, I still think
I'd rather date Misa than Mia.
Yeah, so would I. I'd much rather date Misa than Mia, because Misa actually cared about Light, even if he didn't care about her, whereas Mia doesn't give a shit about Light. I mean, granted, I think it's kind of a role reversal thing they were going for, but it just didn't work. It didn't land, in my opinion. I know. How about next we talk about enemies? So we'll talk about L versus Piccolo. So L is god-awful in this movie. He's one of the most cringy, annoying, over-emotional characters I've ever seen. He's not the calculating, super mad genius that you see in the original anime. He's just a generic guy who walks around openly showing enough of his face that logically it should be able to be put in a Death Note, because there's been scenes in the anime where less of a face was shown because there's like sunglasses and a hood and shit, and you could still kill him with it. Granted, there are certain obstructions that are too much, but you could see most of this fucker's face. Literally all that was covered was his mouth. And on top of that, there's this really, really stupid subplot where he was like some sort of experiment that was raised in some sort of underground vault, and Watori didn't even know about that. Like, he kind of did, but he didn't know where it was, or like any of the real details, and it was really fucking stupid. Now, Piccolo. Honestly, he's not even in that many scenes of this movie in Dragon Ball Evolution. And he is both consistent and inconsistent with his character in the anime. Obviously, his role is drastically altered, but ultimately, he's just a bad guy. He's just the villain. He's going around, he's killing people, he's taking Dragon Balls, and trying to take over the world, which is all Piccolo ever wanted in the original Dragon Ball anime, so I don't see a problem with that. I thought that was a good villain. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of generic, but it's Dragon Ball. It's very Dragon Ball, but L is just an insult to the character and is just fucking retarded.
Well, my comments on Piccolo is that I think they should have gave him like easier to see antenna. I think they should have had the antenna coming out of his head. I think that would have been cooler. You don't see him that much. I think they should have showed him a little more.
Yeah, he definitely should have had more screen
kind of
time.
An interesting character. But when it comes to L, this isn't going to help my argument because I'm literally down talking him. There is a scene in Death Note that annoyed me, and nobody was mentioning it in reviews, and it really makes me mad. What it was the scene where he's on the stage or whatever, and he's saying like, Light, if you can kill me now, do it, all that. But like up to this point, Light has only killed bad guys. So why would L assume Light would want to kill him? Doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I want to say, which doesn't have anything to do with L, I just want to point it out once in this video, is that Willem Dafoe, Ryuk, says that the most anybody's ever gotten in his name in the Death Note is 2 letters, but that's a lie because you see his full name in the Death Note earlier on, and it says, don't trust him, don't trust Ryuk.
Right, and by the anime and manga logic, you can't kill a Shinigami by writing their name, because it's impossible. The only one who can kill a Shinigami is the Shinigami King. But obviously that's not a subplot in this movie, so I guess you could argue it's different logic. But if it is different logic, then why the fuck did it not kill him having his name written in when I say don't trust Ryuk? Because his name's in there, even if it's in a different context.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And,
what are you going to say about L?
Oh, about L?
About L.
I remember. So in the anime, the only reason L knew that Light was willing to kill people who were coming after him that weren't criminals is because he used Lindell Taylor pretending to be him. He was testing it to see if Light would kill law enforcement and also try to hone in on his location. And he accomplished both, which is how he narrowed him down tremendously. Also, I will point out, Light's reasoning for becoming Kira in this movie was just ham-fisted, and it sounded like they were just trying to make an excuse to have the name in it. Because they're like, oh, it means this thing in Russian or something. And they're like, it also kind of means killer in Japanese, so we can make people think I'm Japanese. And then he has a bunch of people write stuff on the walls in Japanese, which I don't know if this is a leap of logic on my part, or if this is something that I'm just overthinking. But the Death Note can't make someone do something they don't know how to do, as far as I know. So I don't think they could have written messages in Japanese like he told them to. Now, granted, he has made them draw symbols before in the anime, so maybe it's possible on that logic, but I know that they can't do something past their own reasonable human expectation of knowledge, in the anime at the very least.
Yeah, that really is just the movie messing up, because in the anime, he can't make them do something they don't know how to do, but in the movie they can. He can. Also,
in the movie, the way Wataru dies is he gets murdered. He gets shot. Death Notes cannot do that. Now, granted...
That's just Ryuk, though. He said, Ryuk, if you don't write down Raina's reason in the movie, Ryuk just does whatever he wants.
But that shouldn't be possible according to the original Death Note rules, which again is different than the movie, so maybe cut it some slack on that. And to be fair, in the first Death Note movie, there is actually a part where Light actually has this one girl get shot. However, they explain it so that it makes sense. She was not actually killed, like she was not actually murdered, she was hit by a stray bullet, and he also killed the other person by writing her name and making her fire her gun, and just randomly her bullet just kind of went stray, and that coincidentally was what hit her, and that's how they explained it in the original Japanese movie. Even with that inconsistency, they made it work in that movie, and they explained it really well.
How can I bring Willem Dafoe into this?
Let's just talk about Ryuk, yeah? Let's just do that. Let's just do a whole section on Ryuk. Because,
just a downright good character. That was good casting.
It was. Ryuk was one of the only things I liked about this movie, but he had very little screen time. In fact, I would say him and Piccolo were both the most underutilized parts of these movies. Both of them could have used more screen time. I also think that Ryuk...
A lot of stuff Ryuk says doesn't make sense because it feels like they cut out scenes that were very important.
Yeah. For instance, that don't trust Ryuk message never fucking goes anywhere, and Ryuk at multiple points in the movie kind of implies that the notebook isn't what kills people, it's just what decides how, and he goes and kills the people for Light. It's kind of implied that a few times, because there's a line of dialogue where he says, just before death, people live in the shadow of a Shinigami, or a god of death, where they're controlled for 48 hours. And then later on, well, in Wataru's death, right, Light says, Light tells Ryuka, dealer's choice when it comes to his death. And then when he can't burn the page, which we'll get to that dynamic in a fucking second, when he can't burn the page to erase Wataru's name, Ryuk is, like, chasing him, and he's like, get out of there, Wataru, get out of there! And it's like, so are you trying to imply he could escape it if he can outrun Ryuk, because Ryuk is actually the one killing people and not the notebook? Not to mention, there's some, like, stuff at the end, I think, where Ryuk kind of does some, like, weird magic shit on the Ferris wheel and it falls over, which was kind of dumb. But all of that kind of implies that he did it. Like, he's the one killing people and not Light. Just the notebook is how they decide it. Also, this version of Ryuk is way, like, too eager to get Light to do shit. He's like, here, take this. Okay, kill that guy. Okay, how you gonna do it? How you gonna kill him? Do it. I want to see it. But, like, Ryuk in the anime is just like, I left you this notebook. Do with it what the hell you like. And then Light kills, like, hundreds of people before Ryuk even shows up. And he's like, you've taken quite a liking to it. Which, again, I'm not going to try and, say, they have to be exactly the same. I'm okay with differences. I mean, I actually like the 2015 Death Note live-action drama, which honestly isn't even that great. But I actually enjoyed that, even though it had a lot of differences, like Mello and Nier being the same person and being a puppet. But again, that's going off on a tangent.
Something that actually I think is kind of funny about Ryuk is like the one scene where he says, I told you to get rid of the notebook and pass it along because it's showing that it's giving you and your girlfriend some trouble. I told you to get rid of it. And he's like, no, you didn't. You never said that before.
I also think it's really fucking lame that the Death Note in this movie has a rule that if you can't hold on to the Death Note for 7 days, you lose it. I think that's kind of true in the anime, but as long as you know where it is and it's in your, like, keep, like, you still own it, it's fine. Again, maybe it's the same logic in the movie, they just could have done a better job explaining it.
I actually like Ryuk's voice in this more than I like his voice in both the sub and the dub of the original Death Note anime.
Well, to comment on that, I think it actually sounds pretty close to his dub voice in a lot of ways. So I actually thought it was perfect casting.
It is perfect casting.
Also, I will say this.
He sounds like a Death Note.
Ryuk's CGI in this movie is way better than his CGI in the Japanese movies. The Japanese movies, he looks really fucking derpy. Alright.
And I like that they kept him in the shadows. That was a good choice.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of what helped hide CGI and made it look better, was that he was always kind of darkened. Let's talk about them as adaptations. Now, I am more familiar with the source material of both. However, you have seen Death Note, so I'll leave you open to your interpretation on that. I think that Dragon Ball Evolution was surprisingly way more faithful to the original source material than I was expecting, number one, and way more faithful than the Death Note movie was, number two. First off, it has more characters from the original source material. It has more events from the original source material. It has Goku, it has Roshi, it has Grandpa Gohan, it has Bulma, it has Chi-Chi, it has Yamcha, it has Piccolo, it has the Dragon Balls, obviously. If it didn't, that'd be pretty fucking stupid. It has Goku's original outfit, or not his original outfit, but his Turtle Hermit Gi, which he doesn't wear until like the last 30 minutes of the movie, but they still got it in there, so that was kind of cool. It has, the plot points. It has the Demon Destruction Wave, or the Mafuba, which is how they actually killed Piccolo in the anime, so I think that was a really nice touch putting that in there, and it had the jar and everything. They had the, Kamehameha, obviously. And I think Yamcha was actually really well cast. It actually fit his personality and character really well, I thought. They didn't have Puar, but that's fine. I didn't expect them to. Shenron looked kind of cool. Not as cool as he could have been. He should have been bigger and more menacing, but, you know, CGI, whatever. The Dragon Balls, I thought they did a really cool thing, too, where they made the Dragon Balls themselves glow and, like, the stars move around inside. I thought that was really cool. The storyline is a combination of every major arc of the original Dragon Ball. It essentially combines the events of all of them into one quest for the Dragon Balls, and it actually meshes really well, in my opinion. Because it has Goku meeting Chi-Chi, which happened, I want to say in, like, either the King Piccolo arc or, like, the late Red Ribbon arc. It's been a while since I've seen original Dragon Ball. But it had Goku and Bulma teaming up to find the Dragon Balls, and it had Bulma confronting Goku thinking he stole the Dragon Ball, which again happened in the original anime as well. It also had Power Pole, and it had a lot of really, like, it had Roshi being a pervert, like he is in the anime as well. Like, a lot of stuff actually matched up way more than I thought. Like, obviously it still has a ton of differences that separate it from the source material, but it was way more faithful than I was expecting. Now, Death Note, literally the only things consistent about it is, okay, Light, he gets a Death Note. He's a completely different character, but he gets the Death Note and he has the name Light. And his name is Light Turner, which doesn't sound like a name, where in my opinion Light Yagami does sound like a name, but Light Turner does not sound like a fucking name. It has...
Wait, you know why they gave him the name Light Turner?
Because he turns on the lights?
No, they gave him the name Light Turner because they wanted him to seem more like an average kid.
What? Does that even make sense? What are you saying, Corbin?
No, Light Turner was an average kid that no one understands.
I mean, that doesn't work. That's awful. That's a bad joke. That does not work.
Why does that not work?
Because there's no connection. I mean, like, Turner, yeah, it's a last name, but, like, it's a common last name.
Name one other Turner you know. What other fictional
Karen Turner, that awful Karen Turner, that awful lady that like stopped at that traffic stop and got fired because she was really mean to the police officers and she was like a city official.
Is that a fictional character?
No, she's a real person. She's a total bitch.
Name a fictional character with the name Turner.
I don't think I need to. I think we're gonna move on because this is already getting way out of fucking line. So stop it. So other than Light and Misa being in it, and Ryuk, and again they changed her name to Mia, which fine, whatever. That makes more sense, I guess. Then they had Ryuk, they had Light's dad, and they had L and Watari. That's like it. They had the Notebook. The plot otherwise had almost nothing to do with the original. Like, yeah, they had the scene where Light got tailed by the FBI, but that was pretty much the only part that matched up with the original source material. Like, Light kills his first people because they're bullying someone, because oh no, bullies are bad. This is an anti-bullying movie. This movie is like stopbullying.speakup.com. But it's really bad. It's just like, oh no, I'm an angsty teenager and all these bullies, look how mean they are. These big meanie poos, I gotta punish them. And then Mia's like, oh, why don't we kill some baddies? And it's like, oh, that's a good idea. Let me get in your pants real quick.
Wait, when he opens up his locker, there's a thing that says normal people scare me.
Does he have that? I didn't notice that. That is god-awful.
Yeah, when he opens up his locker.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and give your rebuttal for which one's a better adaptation?
That's not a better adaptation.
But you insisted.
I have no rebuttal.
You insisted in our chat that it was. You told me it had so much more to do with Death Note than Dragon Ball Evolution did with Dragon Ball. You told me that in the chat multiple times, that it was a better adaptation, and that
yeah,
the
but I'd seen Dragon Ball Z, not Dragon Ball. I didn't know.
And you also insisted that this director had some sort of vision, whereas the director of Evolution did not. I think neither had visions about the show, and I think both of them were doing just a ham-fisted cash grab. Are you still of the opinion that you think that the Death Note director had this vision?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
explain.
I do think that, because he actually bothered to do a good job directing it.
On a technical level, maybe, but like on a story level and a like line delivery level, I would say no.
Yeah, but well, it looked pretty good. I enjoyed staring at it.
All right, well let's use that as a segue to talk about the cinematography. I will say this, objectively, the cinematography is better in Death Note 2017. I will give you that. However, I will say this. Most of the movie, I feel like they were trying way too hard to make everything dark, gloomy, and gray. So they're just like, let's throw a dark filter on everything and make it ominous. That'll be good. And that's like the entire movie looks like that. It's like when Game of Thrones Season 1 put way too many filters on shit. They did the same thing in this.
That's your opinion.
Okay, well, do you agree at all with that, or do you think that it was well done with the filters?
I thought it was well done because it didn't look unnatural. Everything looked like it should have been dark. It didn't look like, oh, they just put a dark filter over for me, because like it all looked like it was in a situation where it should have been dark. Like where the classroom, the windows have their blinds up, and then it's like dark in that room. That makes sense because like he's locked in a classroom. He's not outside.
Okay, but what about when he's walking down
outside,
the stairs in the middle of the schoolway hall and everything's all darkened, in the middle of the day, broad daylight?
I don't remember that.
Or when he's sitting in a car, riding in the back of a car in broad daylight.
Don't remember that.
Or when they're out doing a cheerleading routine out in the middle of the day in broad daylight.
It was raining.
Not initially. Also,
It's raining later.
well, after the Notebook showed up, yeah. So, let me talk about another thing that I hated about the way this movie was staged. The intro to the Death Note movie does not set the mood for Death Note at all. It's like generic, like high school music, getting everyone all pumped up and happy, just generic high school stuff. And then all of a sudden, the Death Note drops, and then it just starts raining, and everything changes a little bit. Like, it doesn't change a lot. It still is really bad, and the music is inconsistent. Sometimes it's really good for it, and other times it does not fit the movie at all.
You didn't like the soft rock music?
It's not that it was soft rock, it was bad.
It was still soft rock.
Well, like, look,
I
like,
thought it was okay music. I like that sort of softer.
there was a specific line of dialogue that I should have written down, because there was this one line of dialogue I heard, and I just cringed so hard. I'm like, oh no, they did not just fucking say that. But I can't remember what it was. It was really bad, though. There was a lot of bad dialogue in that movie. I mean, there was bad dialogue in both of these movies, mind you.
Are you talking about the scene where he's saying, actually, didn't you fail a grade? You're actually over 18, so if you hit me, that would actually be child abuse, so I suggest you back the F off! And then he gets punched in the face.
That's not what I was referring to, but I brought that up earlier, if you remember, when we were comparing the characters.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty good dialogue.
Also, why was Watari stupid enough to use his real name if Watari is supposed to be his real name in this? Because that's what Light wrote in the Death Note, even though his original name was Quillish Whammy, and the fact that Light doesn't know his first name or last name or whichever one Watari isn't. Like, you noticed that, right? He wrote Watari in the Death Note, but Watari was an alias that he used. So why did that kill him? And if that could kill Watari, why could it not kill L?
Yeah, because if he just wrote L while thinking of his face, he probably could have just killed him.
And again, like I said, L shows most of his face throughout the whole movie. Like, I mean, yeah, he has like this covered right here, but that's it. And the rules...
Maybe Ryuk's just a moron, because like you said, about how you think Ryuk's the killer, the one killing the people. Well, if Ryuk is, he probably just assumed that was what Watery's real name. So he was like, oh, well, I guess they'll kill him.
Yeah, because they never bring up the whole thing with the eyes in this movie. That's not even touched on.
Yeah, so I don't think Ryuk even has those eyes. I think he just assumed that his name was actually Watery. He was like, all right, I'm not going to question that. I'll just go off and kill him.
All right, let's go ahead and let's talk about overall entertainment value. With this Death Note movie, I was bored throughout the entire thing. The entire movie was just generic teen drama, and I lost interest multiple times and had to keep fighting myself to actually look at the screen. Dragon Ball Evolution, on the other hand, was dumb fun, and I enjoyed every second of it, I'm not gonna lie. I had fun the entire time I was watching it because it was stupid as hell. Like, the stupid dialogue in Dragon Ball Evolution only made it funnier to me. Like, there's literally a scene where they're talking about the dragon radar that Bulma built, which is another element from the anime that got put in the movie, so again, more props for being accurate, I guess. Where Bulma says, Dragon Ball Energy, DBE. I like that. I feel like that was a way to try and, like, abbreviate the movie as DBE, and it was really stupid and didn't work, and I loved it.
I didn't even think of that. That's actually funny.
Also, like, they added in all this stupid dialogue where Bulma calls the Dragon Balls, like, a something orb. I can't even remember, but it was really fucking stupid. Like, they had a different name for it that she called it. And just, I loved it. I love dumb dialogue. It's funny to me. But not when it's, like, cringy.
I'd argue, yeah, there was a couple moments in Dragon Ball Evolution where I thought it was so bad it was good. But I'd argue Death Note is more unironically good than Dragon Ball Evolution is ironically good, for me at least, because I didn't find myself laughing all that much while watching Dragon Ball Evolution. I mostly found myself bored, and maybe I'm just more clueless when it comes to stuff that's, like, corny, but, like, I don't know. I thought the scene where he's making the people beat each other up was pretty funny. That made me laugh. And I like some of the dialogue in Dragon Ball Evolution, but nothing really was all that interesting. But the Death Note movie, the first time I watched it, I actually was interested to see where it was going, even though it was a bad movie. I was actually curious to see what was going to happen next and what decisions they were going to make.
Well, especially since you liked it the first time you saw it.
So that's probably because I'm more familiar with Death Note, so I'm like, okay, I'm seeing differences. I want to see what other differences this is going to go for, even though they're not good differences. While with Dragon Ball Evolution, I don't know what's going on at all.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, but the thing is, I think being more familiar with the source material just made me pissed off at the Death Note movie more, because of how much superior the source material was. I mean, to be fair, I'd say I'm arguably just as familiar with each series, although Dragon Ball I've seen more of just because there's more of it. But with Death Note, I've seen, the manga, I've read the manga, I've seen the anime, I've seen all 4 Japanese movies, I've seen the 11-episode drama, I've seen both relights. So, I'm more familiar with Death Note, I'd say, than I am Dragon Ball in that regard. And I think that just pissed me off more because I like Death Note so much as a series. And to see this movie that's such a fucking insult to a series that I take seriously and actually really enjoy, as opposed to Dragon Ball Evolution, which Dragon Ball Evolution never takes itself too seriously, and that's why I enjoy it. It's just dumb fun, and it takes you along for the ride. And I enjoy that because I think dumb fun is way more fun than something that's a genuine insult to something I'd take seriously and actually think is a well-written story.
Light made some silly faces that made me laugh.
I think that you're just, like, more into it for the spectacle of it because of, like, the cinematography and shit. Because literally, that's the only thing I can genuinely say is better between these two movies.
I really like the way the Death Note movie looks, just because it makes me go, oh yeah, if I did a movie, I'd probably do something like that.
And even then, like I said, I have my gripes with the cinematography. But I'll say this. Special effects, better in the Death Note movie, too. Like, that decapitation scene looked pretty good. Whereas in Dragon Ball Evolution, the part where they're, like, shooting ki blasts at each other was kind of cheesy and stupid. But, again, I liked that. It brought on to it.
Something that disappointed me about Death Note is that if they were going to do these cool gore effects for, like, the first 3 deaths, why don't they just do that for the whole movie? Just have a bunch of gory deaths.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing...
Would have made it way more...
This movie, the Death Note movie, clearly sets up for a sequel, and it's like, oh boy, I bet you can't wait for part 2, whereas the Dragon Ball Evolution movie doesn't really do that.
Oh no, it wasn't trying to set up for a sequel, it was just trying to make you think the ending was really cool.
No, it is trying to set up for a sequel. They had a sequel planned the whole time, and they're still planning on making it, as far as I know.
They did?
Yes. They plan on making a sequel. They always did. It was meant to set up a sequel.
That's crazy, because L clearly was writing down Light's name. Light was screwed.
I don't know, man.
I don't know how you can continue that.
There's a sequel planned. Also, L wouldn't write a name in the Death Note. That's quitter shit. L would never do that. Real L wouldn't.
Well, this L would. This L's a crybaby who wants to avenge his dead friend.
Well, and he's also a hypocrite, because the whole reason he wants to stop Kira is because he thinks what he's doing by writing these names is morally wrong. But if he does it himself, he's just a hypocrite, which is why Real L would never do that.
Yeah, well, this L's stupid.
Yeah, I know.
What are your closing thoughts?
So my closing thoughts are Dragon Ball Evolution.
Cassandra, Selena, and Katrina?
Those are your closing thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I get you. But here's my closing thoughts, T-H-O-U-G-H-T, yeah? So...
Yeah.
So here's my closing thoughts.
Thoughts originally.
Okay, shut up and let me finish, yeah? So here's my closing thoughts. With Death Note 2017. This was a movie that I had vowed I would never watch. You requested that I watch and review it multiple times in the comments. You did it on an alternate account at one point, and that's when you told me the whole thing about it being a good movie was in those comments, where you said, it's really a good movie, it's just a bad Death Note movie, and it feels like it was more inspired by Death Note. For whatever reason, you had this obsession with the fact that it was inspired by Death Note, that somehow made it good, and you kept requesting for me to watch it. But I refused to watch it, and I would not have watched it were it not for this debate. But having watched it, I will say this. This is going to shock you. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It genuinely was not. But I did not enjoy it, and it was boring to me and generic. But overall, would I say it was as bad as I thought? No, it was just kind of a generic teen movie, and those are a dime a dozen. I think the fact that it has the Death Note name attached to it is what really made it more insulting to me. Dragon Ball Evolution, on the other hand, after watching the Death Note movie, because I watched the Death Note movie first, I was worried. I was genuinely worried that buying it, I would end up agreeing with you and we'd have to cancel the debate. But luckily, I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that I was right in the first place, and Dragon Ball Evolution is actually really fucking fun to watch. So, I enjoyed it. It was very fun. It was stupid, and it was stupid, cheesy, dumb fun, and I love it. What are your closing thoughts?
The fact that you even thought about the possibility that Death Note might be better than Dragon Ball Evolution is all I need.
But I still doubled down on my opinion after watching both movies. Because prior to this debate, I had not seen either one. And I was just going off reviews I had seen of it. And luckily, those reviews were correct, because Dragon Ball Evolution is way better than the Death Note movie. Way fucking better. Any other thoughts?
Oh, yeah. Well, I still think Death Note was a better movie than Dragon Ball Evolution, just because, there's more things genuinely good about Death Note.
I disagree.
Than there are Dragon Ball Evolution, in my opinion.
I disagree.
Because, everything that was good about Dragon Ball Evolution, everything that was good about Dragon Ball Evolution was ironically good, in my opinion. And then everything that was good about Death Note was genuinely good.
I don't think there was a single thing genuinely good about that movie except for the cinematography.
And Ryuk,
I guess, yeah, that one character that had 4 minutes of screen time. I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna...
thing that was unironically good about Dragon Ball.
I say the story was actually kind of interesting. It had a fun action atmosphere. Some of the comedy they meant to be funny was genuinely funny. Like the fight scene, that was supposed to be funny, and you even said it made you laugh. The parts with Roshi being a pervert were supposed to be funny, and they were. The parts,
Didn't make me laugh.
Well, that's because you're gay. That makes me win the argument, doesn't it? But no,
yeah, all you need to say.
No, but what I'll do is I will put a poll in the corner now. And I want you, the viewer, here, there in the audience, I want you to go up in the corner and tell me which of these two movies is better. Dragon Ball Evolution or Death Note 2017. Yeah, vote which one is better, because I want to be just... So I will make it clear in the poll too. So just let me know, is Dragon Ball Evolution better? Is Death Note better? And if you want to let me know why in the comments, feel free. And if you think Death Note is better, you're just as wrong as Corbin. So yeah, this has been Fugitive Red. Have a great day.